I'm going to go ahead and kick this off, and more people can join. And if they miss something, they can go back and watch the recording. Um, so let's get started. I would like to welcome everybody to Talking with Your Pompe Peeps with our wonderful speaker, Margaret Koehler.
Hi,
Uh,
guys.
the presentation is on service dogs. How do you know if a service dog can help? Margaret is a nursing student at Texas Tech Health Science Center, set to graduate in August 2025. Diagnosed with Pompe at 18, she continues to live a vibrant and fulfilling life, thanks in no small part to her loyal companion, Winnie Mae. Winnie Mae, an Australian Labradoodle, joined Margaret's journey in July 2022 and now serves as her dedicated psychiatric service dog and her partner in crime. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Margaret.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here and talk with y'all about service dogs. I didn't know much about them before I got mine, but I have learned a lot um, by having one. So let's kick this off. So like she said, I'm going to be talking about service dogs. So first, we're going to be talking about ESAs. So ESAs are a little bit different than service dogs. Really, any animal can be an ESA. An ESA is an animal that offers support, comfort, and relief by helping to ease some of the symptoms that are brought on by like anxiety, depression, PTSD, or just in general, like a disease like ours, Pompe disease. So they're not allowed in all public places. So some stores do allow ESAs as long as they are like well behaved. Some stores do not. It really just truly depends on where you go. They are not protected by the ADA, but which is the Americans with Disability Act, but they can be protected and typically are protected by the Fair Housing Act. So meaning if you're renting a place, usually they cannot deny you because you have an ESA. All you have to do is turn in the proper paperwork from your psychiatrist, psychologist, doctor, whoever's filling out that paperwork for you. You just have to turn that in. The owner must have a qualifying mental health or psychiatric disability. So mainly you see these with mental health disorders. But if you think about it, a lot of our community in the rare disease world, they have a lot of anxiety and depression because it's different. Their life is a lot different than everyone else's. So that can bring on a lot of anxiety and depression. So usually most of us are going to be able to qualify for an ESA. And like I said before, any animal can qualify as an ESA. A bird, a cat, a dog, a snake, chicken, horse, whatever you want. They can all qualify as an ESA. So service animals are a bit different than ESAs. Service animals, they are task-trained animals who are considered working animals and not pets. Um, they can go anywhere with the owner and they should not be separated if a medical emergency were to happen. So if, let's say someone has like a seizure alert dog and this person starts seizing in, let's just say Target, this dog should not be separated from the owner. Whether EMS comes and gets them or not. They are not allowed in sterile environments of the hospital. So depending on the hospital that you go to, ICUs are very particular about if they will let them in or not. It just truly depends on the medications, the environment, if it's really sterile or not. Like all of that kind of takes into effect of like where your dog can and cannot be. Sometimes, or well, all the time, the ORs, they cannot go into any ORs. And then sometimes pre-op too, again, depending on how sterile that environment is for your hospital. There are only two questions that a person legally has to answer about their service dog. Those questions are, is the dog a service animal required required because of a disability? And what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? So those are the only two questions that if you have a service dog, you are required to answer. Any other questions you are not required to answer. Let's see here. So types of service dogs. There's so many types of service dogs. There's guide dogs that help people see if they're blind or visually impaired. Medical alert service dogs, which help with like diabetes, seizures, things like that. Psychiatric service dogs, which Winnie is a psychiatric service dog for me. She helps with my anxiety. Mobility service dogs. So a lot of our community has mobility problems, whether that's they cannot walk, they cannot stand up for long periods of times. Having a dog is really good and can help you actually like keep your balance and things like that. Allergy detection service dogs, these are becoming more and more popular, I've noticed. So if someone has like a severe gluten allergy or a severe peanut allergy, they can actually train the dog to sniff out peanuts, gluten, whatever it is, within a meal. So a lot of these places, like restaurants, they'll say that it is peanut free. And to the best of their knowledge, the waiter's knowledge, usually it is. But a allergy detection dog can actually come up and smell whether it actually has peanuts in it or not. So that can help actually save a lot of lives. Therapy dogs. Therapy dogs are amazing. You usually see them in schools, hospitals. Sometimes you'll see them in work. I know we have one at the nursing school in Mansfield, and they're just there to provide comfort for students, for patients, for anything like that. They're really amazing, and those dogs they truly are really amazing dogs. There we go. So my story on how I got my dog, you can see her kind of in the back there, little brown thing. Um, so I came freshman year to Texas Tech University, and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know where I was going to go in life. I was a kinesiology major. I was in a bunch of hard classes. My boyfriend, who I'm still dating to this day, he was at a different college in Dallas, so I was separated from him. I just got my diagnosis at 18 in 2021, March of 2021. So I'm coming up on my, I think, 3 or 4 year anniversary of getting diagnosed. I just got my diagnosis and it was still COVID. So my doctors were like, well, you can't bring anyone with you because you're 18, you're legally an adult, and this is what you have to do. And I said, okay. I don't know what to do. I don't know what questions to ask because I don't know much about my disease. So that brought on a lot of anxiety, especially going to Texas Tech, and I'm from San Antonio. So it's about 5.5 hour drive, 6 hour drive sometimes, to get from San Antonio to Lubbock and Lubbock to San Antonio. So it was definitely nerve-wracking to try and kind of figure my life out separate from my parents. I'm also an only child. So I used to really rely on my parents, and they were always there for me. They still are, but it's definitely different living apart from them. And I had a lot of anxiety. I didn't have great roommates either my freshman year, and I had a lot of anxiety. And there were points where I was extremely depressed, and I had a therapist here who's amazing, but she was like, I think you need a little bit more than just weekly therapy. So doing like outpatient 2, 3 times a week therapy instead of just my typical 1 week individual therapy, and doing possibly group therapy, things like that. And my mom was talking to a nurse practitioner that she knew. And the nurse practitioner was like, before you go and you spend all that money on a therapy that could or could not work, why don't you get her a dog? And my mom was like, well, why would I do that? That's just going to add a lot more stress to her plate that she doesn't want, which I didn't want, and that we don't want for her. And we don't want to force that on her. And she was like, trust me, get her a dog. So my parents brought it up to me, and I was like, okay, um, yeah, I think I would really like that. So I thought about it. We did a lot of research before, like fully going headfirst into this. And we decided that, yeah, that was going to be the best thing for me. So we started looking into different breeds. My one request was that it was hypoallergenic, as I lived in an apartment at the time, and I did not have a whole lot of time to clean up all the dog fur and everything like that. And so then that's how we came to be on a doodle. And then now it was trying to figure out which kind of doodle was the right one for me. There's Aussie doodles, Australian Labradoodles, there's golden doodles, like there's just plain Labradoodles, like there's so many that it was like, which one is the right one and the best one to potentially be a service dog. So we found out that Australian Labradoodles are really, really smart, and we're actually bred for the service dog, bred to be service dogs. And so we started doing research into Australian Labradoodle breeders. And I had contacted a couple, and they were like, I don't think you're the right person for a dog just because, you're in college, you don't have a whole lot of time. And I was like, you're right, but I do plan on training her to be my service dog. And they still were like, okay, I just don't think that, we're comfortable giving you a dog. And I respected that. And, we moved on, found the next breeder, and we found this one breeder in Wimberley, Texas, and it's Texas Labradoodles. She is absolutely phenomenal. Her name is Marty, and she breeds out of her home. And we went and we saw the dogs. We had talked to her, and my parents and I had explained to her kind of like what was going on in the whole situation and how my anxiety was really, really bad. And I was going to train this dog to be a service dog. And she was like, I think we have a dog for you. And I was like, okay. And so she was like, well, why don't you come up? We just had a litter and we'll look at the dog, see how you interact, and see if one of these could potentially work out for you. And I was like, okay. So we went up there, we saw the dogs, and obviously we fell in love with all of them. I knew I wanted a female dog. And so we pulled all the female dogs and puppies that she had. And I was like, oh, this is really overwhelming because there were so many and they were all so cute. I just wanted to take them all home. But this one in particular, Winnie Mae, she was the one that kind of hid from her siblings. All of her siblings were very like rowdy, rough, outgoing, and she kind of hid behind flower pots and just wanted to be held and loved. And so these are some pictures of her growing up. Um, so I knew that this was my dog. I was between her and another dog that was really rowdy. And Marty was like, I don't think you want the rowdy dog because that's going to be better for a family that has younger kids that can help get all that energy out. And so she chose Winnie for me. And I instantly fell in love with her. I wanted to go see her all the time because at the time we went to see them, they were not ready to be brought home yet. And so we got the call and we brought her home and she really came out of her shell without her siblings. And it's the best decision we've ever made. I started training her at about 6 months to 8 months old. And we've been working with a trainer here in Lubbock. So I personally trained her with a trainer in Lubbock here. And the trainer is amazing. And she just passed her test in November, October or November of this year. And she's now officially a fully certified service dog. She goes to class with me. She does not go to clinical or sim with me. As I said, as Tiffany had mentioned, that I am a nursing student, but I just don't want that to hinder my experience. She does not go to sim or clinical with me, but she does go to class with me every time I go. And she goes out to HEB, she goes out to Target, Walmart, like all of these places with me. And it truly has changed my life. I was having these episodes because of my anxiety, and they looked like seizures. They weren't, but they looked like seizures. And it was because of my anxiety and everything that I was keeping down, and I wasn't able to communicate really how I was feeling because I didn't know exactly what was going on. And I have had very minimal episodes since getting her. She's truly changed my life, and I think she could change others too. I think service dogs are a great investment. It is on the pricier side, I will say. But if you choose to work with a company like Little Angels or Canine Companions, which I have links to their website in the chat, they help find service dogs that are right for you and making sure that you are good for a service dog and that that would be the right fit for you. They really focus on trying to make it as little as inexpensive as it can be to get a service dog. So really look into those websites if financially you're really worried. Look into those websites. They're great. Also just looking up service dog trainers. If you want to self-train your dogs, that's also an opportunity and an option. So yeah, that's kind of my story. Are there any questions, or this is kind of when we can start the discussion?
See. Thank you so much, Margaret. That was so interesting. And I empathize a lot with what you're saying and how much having a companion like a puppy or um any animal really
Mhm.
bright me, it brightens your life, right? It gives you something else to focus on. Um, those who've been on these calls before know that I have too many pets at the moment, but the latest one that my niece found and I ended up getting is a little black, part German Shepherd, part we don't know what. And he's finally like my dog. Like he wants to be right near me and everything. So
Mhm.
all the others have found different family members too, like the most. But I'm
That's
hoping that one day he'll be my,
that's
emotional
awesome.
support service dog.
That's awesome. yeah, they're truly amazing. And Winnie Mae has definitely changed my life. And my parents will say that over and over again, that that was the best investment that they could have ever made in.
Well,
Hey,
I could go
Margaret.
on and on about how much animals can help us, but I don't want to take control of the conversation. So, are there any questions from anybody? Any thoughts? Any?
I can ask a question.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, Margaret, like that's awesome. Thanks for doing this. I also have an Australian Labradoodle,
Hmm.
not as a service dog, but just happened to get her, and she's been awesome. So I can understand why those dogs would do well as a service dog too. I
Yeah.
was curious if you or if anybody else knows. Pompe, of course, it's very hard for us to bend down and grab things. If service dogs have been known to be able to be trained to pick stuff up for people.
They actually can be. They can be trained to pick things up for people if they drop them. They can be trained to open the refrigerator door and go get like a water if you need them to. So like if you're in a medical crisis and you cannot move or no one is around, they can actually be trained to go get your medicine, keep it in one spot. They can be trained to go get your medicine and get you water or get you juice if you're in a hypoglycemia event. With diabetes, they can be trained to do a bunch of things. Dogs are really brilliant, and a lot of people don't know how smart dogs can actually be.
And I will echo that. I started working with a trainer for my dogs last year just because I have four. I had four and now I've got five, and it was a handful. And
Hmm.
they needed some help. And one of them is just super smart, super people pleaser, super food oriented. And so we've been able to train him. I'm going to show you. So, everybody has probably a picker upper, but
Hmm.
what do you do if you drop the picker upper? And so we attach to the end of it like a rope, and he picks it up to hand it to you. And you can do
Hmm.
the same thing with your phone. So that's about as far as we've gotten, but he likes to do it. So
Hmm.
and he wasn't even, we started when he was about three. So
Yep.
mhm.
That's great.
Does anybody else have any questions? Have you ever had stores tell you you can't come in here?
So personally, I have been very lucky. Um, I live in a smaller town in Lubbock,
Mhm.
so a lot of people have dogs in Lubbock and they just bring them into stores in the first place, whether they're service or not. So luckily I have not ever come into experience with that, or ever had that kind of experience, but I do see it a lot on TikTok and Instagram and things like that about how people tend to be discriminated and how they're like, your dog has to be on a leash. And actually they don't, because if you again have a medical emergency or something and they're on a leash, you fall on a leash, they can't get away to go get someone to come help you. So some people train their dogs to walk off leash, heel, and be really good. For me, Winnie Mae walks on leash, so I don't have to deal with the not walking on a leash, but there are some that you can train to walk off leash, but I've never had an experience like that, thankfully.
Do you have like on her leash, working dog, please don't pet and stuff like that?
So I actually don't. I do have like a couple service dog patches that I have on that I don't put on her service vest all the time. So it's like I go to physical therapy usually once a week. It's been kind of off and on right now with school, but usually once a week I'll go to physical therapy and I use that as like her social time. So she's really well behaved there, but if people want to say hi, I let them because she used to have bad anxiety around people and
Mm.
especially like crowded places and things like that. And ever since I started like actually letting random people pet her and say hi and all of that, she's been amazing and is now like really happy to go anywhere and everywhere. Sometimes if I'm in like a rush or things like that, or I just don't want to talk to people, sometimes that's just quick because I'm trying to get in and out. Um, I will say no, like she's a working dog, but thank you for asking. And I do really appreciate when people ask before they go ahead and just try and pet her. But I don't personally, but a lot of people do.
Yeah, I've heard of people that even when it's on there, keep trying to pet the dog. It's like,
Yes.
no, that's
Yep. A
mhm.
lot of people do that. A lot of kids do that. And it's because they don't know what that is. And they don't know what a working dog is and what a service dog is. And now parents are actually teaching their kids about service dogs when they see them out and about and being like, no, you know how like mommy and daddy go to work,
Hello?
they're doing the same thing and going to work for her owner or for his owner. So we cannot pet them unless we ask and they say that we can. And so that's been really kind of fun to hear in the stores, especially when kids are like, oh my gosh, a dog, like I want to go say hi. And
Mhm.
parents are usually like, no, like it's a working dog, we have to ask before like we can go and pet them or, they're working, so we're not going to go say hi, things like that. But a lot of the time it's kids and older people too, because older people didn't grow up with service dogs either.
Right.
So they don't really know the difference.
I don't know about most of y'all on the call, but I talked to my mom a lot about, you know, so we say the dogs are becoming more human, but I think it's more that our generation has been around dogs in a different way than prior generations, where the dogs were more outside and not with us constantly. So now we
Yeah.
see their personalities a lot different.
Yep, that's definitely it. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, how did you do this? Or, how can I do this? And I'm like, it's actually quite easy. Like you go online and you look up service dog trainers in your area. And there's going to be places that you can get a dog and then send the dog there. There was one in San Antonio. I don't know if it's necessarily really well known between the service dog industry, but it looked really reputable and, we considered it, but it was like 5 grand. And that was 2 or 3 years ago. So I was like, that's a lot of money. And it is a lot of money if you do choose to self-train your dog or send them to a place that trains them. It is a lot of money and people need to take that into account. Especially when working with a dog, because there's a lot of vet bills that come with it too. I know Winnie Mae, she's a very very health conscious dog. Her food is really expensive. She has to get allergy shots because she's allergic to everything. Like it's just all of these things that a lot of people don't take into account that when you have a service dog, you have to take care of to make sure that they maintain their health and that they can stay as active and working for you as long as they can.
I thought I was the only one that had a dog allergic to everything. I mean,
No.
yeah, we had to get my allergy test, and I'm like, there's no green on here. It's all red. And she said, go out anyway. Yeah, you're right. That's definitely part of it. And um, I think also with you training her, with a trainer, then she's used to you and your surroundings versus going somewhere and then all of a sudden she's in a new environment with you.
Exactly. And I think that's definitely really helped Winnie Mae and I's relationship is
Mhm.
actually like me getting to spend time with her and me working with her. And when I had the trainer was really training me on how to train her. So the
Mhm.
trainer would take Winnie Mae sometimes and be like, okay, this is what I want you to do with her. And she would show me. But it was basically her training me and telling me, like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what they need to do. Which I really appreciated. And I think that really helped our relationship, but that is going to be on the more expensive side than going through like canine companions or little angels. So, and I know of another Pompe person that is getting a mobility dog for or from Little Angels, and she's really excited about that. And she's been really good about like fundraising and doing all of that. So,
What is something that, you wish you had known in advance or, something that was a challenge other than puppy stage?
yeah, the puppy stage was pretty hard. But I think so. I've grown up with dogs, and the last dog that we had before Winnie Mae, um, we got him as a puppy, so we had to go through the training, and all of that. He was a little more destructive than when he was. But I think the biggest thing is figuring out the dog in general and figuring out their likes and dislikes. Like that was a big learning experience for me. Like I knew dogs could have anxiety, but I didn't realize like how much anxiety that they can actually have. And we have another dog in our house right now. My roommate got her, and she's a great dog. She's gorgeous. She's a husky, and she has a lot of energy. And Winnie does not have as much energy as this husky does. And so Winnie tries to kind of like fight back when she's playing because she doesn't want to play. So kind of figuring out like her anxiety and where she comes in and when she's done and learning like all of those social cues of your dog because they can't talk to you or communicate with you. Learning the social cues was pretty difficult.
So being in Lubbock, I know y'all have quite a bit of different weather and it can get cold and everything. Um, beyond the service dog aspect of it, the Pompe aspect, do you have help with walking her when needed or a backyard or
Yep. So I had lived in a townhome for uh 2 years. So I lived in a dorm my first year. I didn't have her in my dorm. I got her my second year and moved into a townhome. And by that time, my boyfriend had transferred to tech because he really didn't like the Dallas school that he was at. And he had transferred and was a lot happier here. I have him to help me out, especially when I don't feel good or when it's way too cold outside, or if I just simply like, I don't want to get up. He's really good about helping me like take her out and, play with her when I come back from my like 10, 11-hour clinicals. And I'm just purely exhausted because I got up at 5:30 in the morning and I don't have the energy to play with her. He's really good about like taking her out and like playing with her. And it's pretty easy. I have a backyard right now. We moved into a rent house and the backyard is massive. So it's really nice to go out there on nice days like today. We'll probably go outside, but it's really nice to go outside and be able to throw a ball in a backyard and get our energy out that way. And be able to sit on like outside patio furniture. That's the best way that I've found that's easiest for me, is to sit on like the patio furniture in the living room on the couch, depending on the weather outside. But it's really nice to have a companion that's willing to help out. And I know my friends would be willing to help out if Nick couldn't for whatever reason. I know my roommates would be more than willing to help out.
I think that's great. I think, that's the important part, having that support system with a puppy or just in life in general. Because
Mhm.
uh yeah, we have our days where things are harder than others. Uh
Mhm.
and I've always kind of told myself that when you play with a dog by throwing balls, well, that's us getting exercise too.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think the biggest help though is like when I go home, during my breaks, like I'm tired, so I'm gonna sleep in, and my room gets really dark, so it's really easy for me to sleep in. My parents, if they get up before me, they'll come in and take Winnie and like let her go outside, go
Mm.
potty, and then bring her back in because she just wants to come back in and snuggle with me, which I definitely don't mind. But it's also really nice to have that help. But when I got her as a puppy, I got her over the summer, so I had a lot of help from my parents and support from my parents because I was home. I wasn't at school during like the initial puppy phase. So by the time we came up to Lubbock and she came up to Lubbock, she was pretty well trained about the crate and she was pretty well trained about potting in the house. And so that really helped, I think, her seeing our other dog kind of learn those cues. She learned those cues too. So that's been really helpful too.
No, that's great. Yeah, and I agree. I think when they come into a family that already has pups, they pick it up a lot quicker.
Mhm. I agree.
I wish we had made my dog a service dog for me when we first got her. She's almost 9, or she'll be 10 this year actually, but that's something that like if I ever get a dog, I think I'm gonna really pursue into looking at, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like I drop things on the floor all the time.
Yeah.
And I like to have someone pick it up for me because I can't physically bend down and get it myself. And I know, like, for me, like, that particular thing would just be, like, so helpful for me. And, like, other things too. So I kind of regret, like, not making my dog a service dog. But hopefully next time. Is Winnie Mae with you right now?
Yeah, she's right back there. She's sleeping. She's
Aw,
on a big blanket,
Oh,
passed out.
oh.
Really, I think your mom needs to get you a dog.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Is that Tiffany saying that?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God, we got a dog, a cat, and a 2-year-old. I don't know if I can take much more right now.
Shoot, I got 5 dogs and a cat. I win.
I think, yeah, I think the dog and the cat are more than my 2-year-old. Yeah.
So, Dwayne, did you have any questions for Margaret? Like, are you considering a service dog?
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm at work today at the office, so
Okay.
no, I do not have any questions about service dogs. I just want to tell Margaret that I appreciate her doing the presentation because I know it's something, I don't know. It may be something down the road, down the line that I may have to consider or something. Who knows? You never know, where life is going to take you and things like that. And just want to say congratulations on all your work there at college and nursing and everything. And it's awesome to see you grow and just wish you best of luck in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Kevin, you're all the way over in the UK. Do y'all, I don't know how often service dogs are utilized. Is that common?
No, we don't. Well, as far as I know, we don't get anything like that. The only people who really get service dogs over here are blind people.
Mm.
Get blind ones. I have got a question, and it's looking on the black side a little bit, and I'm really pleased that you found a dog that you related to, Margaret. But what sort of thing have you put in place in the future for when obviously a dog's not going to live as long as you are? So
Yeah.
what sort of things you put in place for that? Because obviously it's an emotional thing. So will you sort of bring in another service dog to actually sort of learn off your dog at the moment and go from there? Has that been discussed with you at all?
Yeah, it actually has been something that I've thought about. I don't know much more discussed, but it has been definitely something that I've thought about. And I actually have discussed it with my trainer a little bit, kind of what that looks like. So I know for Winnie, it took her about 1.5 to 2 years to train and be a fully trained service dog. So I definitely do plan on getting another dog. My boyfriend is going to be going into med school in August. So usually these dogs last about 8 to 10 years. It kind of just depends on the health. And so I definitely plan probably after he graduates med school to get another one, to get another doodle, and train them alongside Winnie while Winnie still has some working dog left in her and can still do that to show as an example, because we've seen with Winnie and my older dog that showing an example is really good for them and they learn and pick up things a lot quicker. So it'll be a little bit easier on me. So I definitely do plan on getting another dog in the future. Not anytime soon, but she will be 3 in April. So we have a
You got-
few more years before we have to start thinking about that.
Yeah. I've got a Tibetan terrier sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's. I mean, it seems like yesterday she was a puppy, and now she's 10 and a half sort of thing. So, and yeah, the good thing about that, it gets me out every day. I can walk her every day sort of thing, and that's quite grounding for me sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
really good. And she don't really look after me. I tend to look after her sort of thing. But the only thing she does is that at night is if I don't come up to bed, she comes down the stairs and actually woofs at me to come up to bed. I ain't past my bedtime, so they say she's looking after me to actually come up to bed. So
They
yeah,
definitely do that. I will say that is like one thing that kind of going off of the longevity of the dogs is some people don't tend to take their dogs to the vet as often as they should, just because they're a house dog, they don't really need to. You know, they're not going to get fleas from being in the house or going out to a dog park or heartworm from going out of the house, like things like that. But with a service dog, you actually have to be extremely consistent with going to the vet. So it's really like a 6-month thing for us to go get all of her shots, everything that she needs, heart guard, flea and tick prevention, her allergy shots and everything like that. So it's really important, especially like if you see your dog's not feeling well or they're acting not like their normal selves, I would definitely consider taking them in to see the vet just to make sure that there is nothing going on, so that we can extend the longevity or try to extend the longevity of the dog.
Yeah, she had a lot of allergies, and then we changed her food to a sort
Uh-huh.
of more natural food. And since she's been on that, she's been a different dog.
Yeah, it's crazy how food can change the way that
Yeah.
they act.
Oh yeah. She's completely different, and she got quite big ears, sort of thing. She used to get sort of allergies in her ears, but
Yeah,
no longer. No, it's been best thing we've done for her, sort of thing. So they're a bit more expensive, but worthwhile. Yeah,
it is definitely worth it.
yeah.
I do have a question because I unfortunately had to miss some of it because I had to take a phone call. So like I know you were in San Antonio last year at the conference, and we talked some, but like so what are some of the things that she does for you? Like is she able to like if you drop something like I was saying earlier, like is she able to like pick it up for you and like hand it to you or like just briefly, like what are some of the things that she does for you?
So for me, so Winnie's more of a psychiatric dog. Like I said, when I start training the next service dog, or when I get my next service dog, I definitely want them to be a little bit more mobility based, so like picking up things for me, grabbing her leash off the floor, things like that. But right now, while I'm still able to, she actually doesn't do that for me. She's like a companion and my best friend that I can take everywhere with me. And just having her with me calms me down. But she's able to detect a higher heart rate for me. My heart rate naturally sits higher than the typical average person's. But when I get really anxious or when I'm about to have like one of my episodes, she is able to detect that I'm having a higher heart rate, and she'll come and she'll nudge me or she'll lick me or she'll paw me. It just depends on kind of what I'm doing. If I'm standing, she'll sometimes jump on me to let me know that like I need to sit down and that I need to take a break, or I need to go take a breather outside if I'm in a really noisy restaurant or a really noisy environment. So that's like the biggest thing that she does for me is detecting a higher heart rate, and then also doing deep pressure therapy. So laying on top of me, on my lap or on my chest or wherever I tell her, and basically place her on my body.
That's so cool. I know you had mentioned something before about that high heart rate, and I guess they have to put you through some training as well, right?
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
do have to put us through some training, and I have an Aura ring right now. I had a Fitbit when I was in like when I was doing a clinical trial. So it's like I'm able to track my heart rate. So for me, that's really important for me to always have a device that I'm able to track my heart rate on, just so that I can reward her when she does actually notify me when my heart rate is high. Or I can let her know if she hasn't notified me yet and be like, hey, and I can give her the command for nudge, or I can give her the command for like up, which is jump on me. And I can kind of give her the command to help her out and to help her realize, okay, mom's having a high heart rate. Like we need to figure this out, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool. You can probably hear my dog barking outside right now at the mail lady and at my aunt's dog park going by. She barks at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, like if she sees the same person like every day and she'll still bark at them. But I mean, I guess it's a good thing to notify us, but it's like, come on, like you see them every morning, like there's no need
Yep.
to bark at them, but you know, like
Right, or every time they walk in the door and they're in and out of the door. Yeah, I have that.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't mind because if Amazon shows up, I want them to think I've got big scary dogs. So
Exactly.
it goes both ways.
Oh yeah, I've had people that will like not even come up to my like front porch because they're scared of the dog and they'll just leave the package somewhere else and then leave because they're like scared like by her mark. But she really is a friendly dog. Like She really is, but by her heart, you would not think so sometimes. Hi, Winnie Mae.
So this is Winnie. I got her up from her nap. She decided to come say hi. As you can see, she's very tired. Very
Oh,
tired dog.
It's sweetie.
But yes, this is Bean. I call her Bean. But yeah, she's a great dog and she saved my life. See, yeah. All right, you can go back to your nap.
No, I think, even if you don't have Pompe, there is a place for service dogs in your life or service
Mhm.
birds that, it makes you come out of yourself a little bit. You have to think about somebody else and someone else's needs. And I think that can be very helpful in a lot of cases. And then beyond that, training dogs to pick things up. My dad does it all the time with one of our dogs. Now, this particular dog chose him and is completely my dad's dog. But yeah, he'll follow him around, pick stuff up. It's a huge help. And it's something that I don't think you realize, or maybe we realize it and those directly around us realize it, but not everybody knows how difficult it is to not be able to pick something up off the floor or
Mhm.
have those emotional, you just need somebody to comfort you.
Exactly.
And I mean, especially for you being diagnosed and being so far away from home and COVID, like that was a lot. I'm so glad you found Minnie Mae.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I found her too. I'm very glad. She's back there sleeping.
Just to let you know, I just looked it up, and we do service dogs over here for people with emotional um, anxiety and especially with people ex-service people as well. They take them on board as well. So yeah, there is a vehicle over here for actual doing service dogs as well. So just to let you know.
That's good to know, and maybe something for you to look into down the line.
Mhm.
Um,
I just never looked. So, yeah, no, it's not until you get something like this that you sort of become aware of it, sort of thing. So yeah.
And I heard that she goes to your classes with you, is that correct?
She goes to my classes and she stays with me. So usually sometimes it just depends on the day, but usually my classes are only on Wednesdays right now. And they're usually from like 10:30 in the morning because we have a test in the morning at like 8:30 or 7:45 for me. But 10:30 till about 4:50 or 5 o'clock we're there. And so it's like it's nice because we'll come home during lunch. And like I'll let her potty and we'll play around for a little while. But other than that, she stays in the class with me and she sleeps. And then during the breaks, she gets to go say hi to some people that want to come say hi to her and things like that. So, and it's definitely helped a lot of people in our class. I definitely have seen like the positive effect that she has on people.
That's awesome.
yeah, I believe that. I think that they definitely make our lives better.
Mhm.
And sometimes just looking at them and the positions they decide to lay in, it just makes you laugh in the middle of the day for no reason.
Yes. Yep.
Any-
So
I would say sorry, Tiffany. It also got Margaret. This is Margaret's mom, Lori. I'm sorry, I'm not on camera, but it got Margaret out and about too. Winnie got her out and about, and people came up to her and started talking to her. After COVID, everybody was so isolated. Winnie opened up many doors for Margaret, is what I got to see, by people coming up to her that she would have never approached before herself because of, whatever was going on. And Kevin, we're coming to London in August. So if you want us to bring you a dog, let us know.
That's funny.
I've got enough with my own one, friend.
And Lori, actually, I was going to ask you and say, that what do you see that Winnie has brought to Margaret's life, and any advice you have for those of us that, maybe not for the patient themselves, but for family members?
Yeah, so Winnie has brought happiness, like just pure joy. I don't know how, like when took Winnie to college, she talked about how she was home with us for a little bit, and then Margaret took her away to college. I cried for 24 hours because I was so sad that Winnie's presence was missing in the house. Not that Margaret was going to college. I mean, of course I missed her, but Winnie just brought this presence with her that was so much joy, and it got us active as a family, brought us together as a family, something that we could see. I see with Margaret, she's brought her confidence. She's brought her resilience. She has brought her friends that are kind. She's joined a service organization at Texas Tech because of Winnie that they just started. It's a service animals organization. And Margaret, now has met a lot of other people that have service animals that are like her. She's not alone. It's kind of like when you got diagnosed with Pompe, you're like, oh, I'm on this island by myself. Well, you're really not on the island by yourself. And Winnie has helped Margaret expand her network. And she just, to watch Winnie lay down, like Margaret said, she's her best friend. Watch Winnie lay down next to Margaret and Margaret just love on her as a parent. That's what you want, right? You want your kids to be happy, even the young adults, we want them to be happy, and that Winnie has brought us that. And she's special. She's special. I know in San Antonio, some of you guys got to meet her. And because of Winnie, we now have Winston, which is my dog. We have Bonnie, which is Margaret's grandmother's dog. My friend whose son was diagnosed with epilepsy also got one of Winnie's, another lineage, and that dog is helping them and their family. And to be able to share that joy with others, it's that ripple effect that is simply beautiful to watch, and watch people's lives transform because of it. So
I absolutely agree. I can say from my experience, oh, I'm sorry, I have my camera off right now. I'm Andrea, I'm Tiffany's sister. But I can say just from seeing, like, once you've made that connection with that dog, like y'all talked about, when you've got that connection, it makes everything completely different, right? Like, you just want to be with them. They do, like you said, they bring you joy, they make you happy. And I've seen personally, like with my sister Tiffany, who really spends more of her time at home or just at the office because she does have to be more careful about getting sick and things like that and protecting herself, the joy that the dogs bring. And then, of course, because my parents help a lot, the joy that the dogs bring. My dad has his dog, Mocha, and he just, I mean, he's his next child. He just absolutely loves them. And if, on those hard days and those tough days, it makes them feel just loved, and it just makes your heart happy. And then in being able to have a dog that's, like you talked about, a service dog, it can be life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
I know Tiffany's dogs get all that training like she talked about, and it's they're just such good little doggos, and they're not officially service dogs, but boy do they do their service.
Yes,
They do.
They do. They're so good. And when you get that bond with a dog too, it's just pretty awesome, because of course I told my sister had a dog that she said, it's at the office, and I said, no, we do not need another dog. I have 4 kids and we've got a dog and we're good. We're not doing it. And she said, oh, just go look at the dog. And then we have that special bond. I mean, she immediately just came up and hugged us and loved on us, and then did the same with the children and Warren, and then even our other dog. And they started playing same day, just like they'd been long lost friends. And so they do become part of your family. And Luna's like my little baby now.
Luna's her shadow, follows her
Yes.
always by her feet.
Yes, and I've never had a dog like that before. I've always just thought, like, oh, it's, you know, whatever. But yeah, everywhere I go, she follows me. If I go down the hall, she goes down. If I'm in my office, she's under my desk. And Tiffany said, see, this is what it's like. This is what I've been telling you. And I was like, okay, you're right. I was like, you're right. I get it. They're special.
Very true. And yeah, I mean, we're also crazy over here and have too many dogs and cats, but we love it.
Yeah.
Um, does anybody else have any last questions for Margaret? I think this has been, honestly, I've really enjoyed this one. I think it's so helpful for everybody to know what your options are, different ways you can accomplish getting a service dog. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this, Margaret.
Of course, I really enjoyed doing it. It was a nice little break from studying.
I remember that. Yes.
Margaret, you did have a lot of great information. Thank you so much.
Of course. And if anyone has any further questions, please message me on Facebook or Instagram. And I'd be more than happy to help answer, or I'd be more than happy to answer anything that y'all have. So find me on Facebook and find me on Instagram. It's my name, Margaret Koehler. And feel free to ask the questions.
Margaret, do you want to put it into the chat? And then I
Yes.
can also link it in the video description when we put it up on YouTube.
Yes. Sorry, Haley. I just directed that to you. Didn't mean to.
Wow. There we go. Thank you again. I mean, yeah, and thank you for letting us meet when you may and learn about your journey.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's been really awesome. Thank you
Of
so
course.
much.
Thank you for asking me to do this. I really appreciate it.
And I think if there's no further questions, or anybody want to share anything, then thank y'all for joining.